So on AgXcel's 12-volt PWM driver, we have two different styles. This version right here is the AgXcel designed PWM driver. This is what we commonly use on newer systems. There is an older version as well. Same plugs, same settings for it to function, exact same, almost everything on it. It's just the lights are different is the only thing. But functionality is the same, so you can use this information for that PWM driver as well. And I'll kind of show that one off in a little bit as well when we run a pump system later. Looking at the PWM driver on this style, you will have a green light. This green light is 12 volt, and you want to run that 12 volt from your battery of your tractor. It has to be the battery of the tractor. It cannot be plugged into the cab. It cannot be spliced into something else, even if it's going to the battery. You have to use our harnessing that comes with the PWM driver, and it has to go to the battery of the tractor. This 12 volt PWM can take up to 40 amps. Because of that, that's a big power requirement. It has to run from the battery of the tractor. If you plug into something else, it might run fine when you're sitting still, but when you start driving down the field, you will have problems when everything else starts taking power as well. And then we cannot get enough power. That will cause a couple different problems to happen on this PWM. So green, a solid green is your 12 volt power. You have this clear bulb that is next to it. This clear bulb, when you turn the pump system on, will flash blue, or else when the pump system is off, the bulb will just be off. You have a red light that will turn on if you have some kind of power issue. Usually it is like if you have a dirty connection on the battery, if you have a cable that is damaged and we're not getting proper power to the PWM driver, that's typically what the red light will mean. You have this yellow bulb that is next to it. The yellow bulb means that the driver is overheating. I very, very rarely ever see that come on. So you probably won't have to worry about the yellow light very much. And this last bulb, the orange bulb, just means feedback from the pumps that the pumps are running. So when you turn the pump system on, normal operation, you'll have a solid green, you will have a flashing blue, and you will have a solid orange. When the pump is off, when it is in standby, you will only have a solid green light. That is your normal operation. If the yellow or red light comes on, you're having some kind of power issue, or the yellow meaning that you are overheating. If the green light does not come on, that means we're not even getting power to the PWM driver. So get a voltmeter, check to see if you have 12 volt. We have to have 12 volt. If you have less than 12 volt, like 11.8 volt, we will not power on. You either have a problem with your power source, or it is a problem with the cable going to the PWM driver. Looking at the plugins on the PWM driver, you have your power cables that come with each pump system. So on this side, you have your power and ground. We have a 40 amp fuse that is in here. If you have problems with the PWM not powering on, check your fuse, make sure that's not popped. The battery cable is 15 foot long to get you to the hitch of the tractor. And then we normally give you an extension cable that will plug into the battery cable. Then the other end of the extension cable will plug into the PWM. Once plugged into the battery of the tractor, you should have your green light on, showing that you have 12 volt. This other plug, which is the same style but the opposite end, so you cannot plug it in wrong, you'll have this Y cable, and this Y cable will go to your two pumps. So you come in one plug, Y's off, into two of your pumps. If you have a dual pump GX2 setup, that will share the load. Your last plug, which is a different style, it's a smaller 2-pin. This is your PWM signal. So when you plug this in, this is the varying voltage from your rate controller that will run the pumps at its variable rate. The PWM is the real control here. Looking at a GX2 setup with the PWM driver on here, right here you can see the PWM. The green light is on right now, meaning that I have 12 volt power. The rest of my bulbs are off. So that means I'm just sitting here in standby. PWM is waiting for an order. So I'm going to start a nozzle flow check. When I start that, you'll see the green light is still on solid. The clear bulb is now flashing blue. That tells me that I'm getting the signal to the PWM to run. My red and my yellow bulb are off. That's good. And then my orange light is on solid, meaning that the pumps are running. I'm getting feedback. As we look at the pump system here, the red balls are going, and on my screen, I'm locked in on rate, so I am all good to go. I'll stop the test. Say if, I'm just gonna unplug the signal wire here. Let's say if I turn the pump system on, so right now the pump should be running, but the PWM driver, my light signals haven't changed. It still says I am solid green. I get the solution pump dry message on my screen. So what I need to do, well, what I know now is I'm not getting a signal to my PWM. because my light isn't turning on. So I need to get a voltmeter. I need to check on that small 2-pin line here, put my voltmeter here, and see if I have 12 volt. If I have 12 volt on this line, the problem would lie in my PWM. I need a new PWM driver. If I do have 12, or if I do not have 12 volt here, then I know it's probably a problem with my harness. Either it's damaged somewhere, a pin is corroded or burnt, the harness is pulled too tight, pinched somewhere, maybe it's crushed. Then it's a problem with my harness, or the rate controller is not sending the voltage out to the PWM, so we do not know to turn on. We're going to plug it back in. We can see the pump system will start running again. So currently all is good. Now say if I unplug the power here, the pump is still trying to run, but I unplugged my 12 volt, the green light is off, all the lights are off. So even if I had less than 12 volt here, like 11.8 volt or 7 volt, the PWM driver won't turn on. That'll be your big problem at that point. If I do have 12 volt here, but none of the lights turn on when I plug the power in, that means my PWM's probably burned. So if I plug the power back in, the pump system starts running again. Now the last plug here is what's going to my pumps. If I unplug that, I still get my green light, my flashing blue, and my orange. Well, all my lights are good, but my pump system's not running. And now I'm getting solution pump dry. Well, it could be my Y cables, or it could be the pumps themselves. Go out to the pumps, see if they are humming, or if they are not making any noise, because that can determine what's going to happen as well. If the pumps aren't making any noise, it could be a problem with the Y cable, maybe something's wrong with it. It's not sending voltage to the pumps. But if the pumps are humming, then it's getting voltage. It could be that the pumps are old and that they need replaced. Typically around 4 to 5 years, you need to replace the pumps. And commonly what will happen if they're just humming, they're just so weak that they're not pumping anything out. And then on your screen, you might be pumping such a low rate that your controller's not picking anything up. If I plug the pumps back in, pump system starts running. This PWM being displayed now is one of our older PWM models, but it is interchangeable with one of our newer PWM models that I was just showing off here. The only difference is the light signals. So looking at here, right now the PWM is in standby, and you'll have this slow flashing steady red light, meaning that it's in standby, it's waiting for a command. When you turn the pump on, this light will turn solid, and the corner red light will turn solid as well. So that means the pump system is running right now, or at least it should be running right now. And then if I stop the pump, it'll go back to flashing. So, same problems as before is what can happen. Let's say if I cut my PWM signal. So I still have power to the PWM right now, but I cut my signal to it. I turn the pump on. Right now the pump is not getting the signal to run. It doesn't know to run because currently it's unplugged. But the same thing could happen if I had a damaged harness and voltage wasn't getting through to the pump system. I could still have that solid light. I'm just not getting the signal to run. Once I make my signal again, the pump will start running. Let's say if I cut off my voltage to the PWM, this one's a little different to where the center light is my battery power and this corner light is my signal. So I'm getting the signal from my rate controller to turn on, but because I'm not getting power, battery power, the pump actually can't turn on because it's not getting its normal power source that it needs, its amperage. Once I plug it back in, once I have battery power again, the pump's running. Let's say if I were to unplug my Y cable to my pumps, you can see a couple different things. I'm still getting the signal from my rate controller to run, but right now I have a power problem. So that fast flashing single flash, that's a power problem. It can mean a couple different things. Either it's something to the pumps, like the Y cable's plugged in, or it could be an issue with the pumps, again, going back to where my pumps could be old, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe even older, to where they're starting to draw more amperage than what the PWM can provide, or at least what my power source can provide. And so that light will come up, the pumps won't run. It could also just be a problem with your power source or your power cable going to the PWM driver. If I plug the pump back in, if I get sufficient good power to that PWM driver, it's locking back in on rate, we are good to go. Something else that can happen as well is this center light. It can flash 4 times. It'll be on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, pause, and then it'll repeat that pattern. That is also a power issue. It's either the power source, being the battery of your tractor, or it's the cable going to the PWM driver is typically what that means. So you need to check those two before you start changing a PWM. One more thing to look for as well on your PWM driver, no matter what version it is, check to see if on the potting, if you have any small cracks, small hairline cracks. If you get a small crack in the potting, you need to replace the PWM. It might not function properly. Usually when you notice that, it's none of your lights are coming on, or maybe just your signal's not working. So you might be getting a signal to the PWM, but there's something wrong with it, so it's not telling the pumps to turn on. That's another thing to check for as well. Last thing to check for on the PWM driver, if you're having problems with any of these, ensure you check the pins, make sure none of them are pushed in, pull on the back, see if maybe it wasn't crimped properly. Check to see if the pins are corroded or burnt. Maybe put some contact cleaner on there, plug it in, unplug it a few times, see if that helps. Make sure none of the wires are, and this can be on any wire in your setup, is cut anywhere. It's not crushed anywhere. It's not pulled too tight or pinched real tight around a corner. A zip tie isn't too tight and it's choking it. You need to check all those things as well before we just buy a new PWM, put it on, have the same problem. We need to check those first to ensure that this PWM driver is still good and we're not changing parts that don't need to be changed out and wasting time.